With an I.
Feel like that's a nonprofit.
Good afternoon, commissioners and guests. If we'll come to order, we'll call to order the monthly meeting of the Anderson County Commission Budget Committee. Robbie, if you would, call the roll, please.
Sure. Commissioner Mays.
Here.
Commissioner Palmer.
Here.
Commissioner Vandegrift.
Here.
Commissioner Val.
Here.
Commissioner White. Commissioner Allen.
Here.
Commissioner Beauchamp.
Here.
And Commissioner Smallridge.
Here.
Let the record reflect, we do have a quorum. If you'll join me in prayer, and then we'll ask Commissioner Mays to lead us in the pledge. Heavenly Father, we come to you again to give you honor and praise and to thank you, Lord, for saving us, for being so good to us, Lord, for hearing our prayers, for moving on the problems of life that we each have each and every day, for our citizens, for our county, Lord, that we have the blessing to serve. Please forgive us of our sins, times, Father, when we don't do things the way that you would have us to do. Please strengthen us to do it the right way in your sight. We ask that you be with us today as we conduct the business of your people. Give us wisdom, give us discernment that would be pleasing to you to make the decisions, Lord, that's best for your people. All this we ask in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioners. At this time, we'll allow citizens to come forward. Any citizens who have anything they would like to address to the Budget Committee can come forth at this time. Seeing none, we will move on to the approval of the agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Mays.
could I add under new business discussion on the Election Commission salary codes, please?
Okay. Under new business, we will add discussion of the Election Commission salary codes. Any other additions to the agenda?
Probably what else was there?
Well, we need this whole, the 3 new contracts and the 1 opioid budget amendment added as well.
3 new contracts in the opioid budget amendment.
The $2,500 for advertising.
Is that what came out of opioid?
It came out.
Yes.
So Commissioners, that brings us to new business being the Election Commission salary codes, 3 new contracts, and the opioid budget amendments. Any other additions to the agenda?
Make a motion we approve as amended.
Commissioner Mays moves that we approve the agenda as amended, seconded by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Next item is purchasing contracts with legal review. Go ahead, Rob.
Okay, there are 5 of those that have been approved for legal review. Comcast IT, from the IT Department, State of Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, a 2-year grant from the Mayor's Office. Canon EMA contract, Chris Lawson and Kayla Johnson EMS tuition contracts. I believe that's what those are.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Allen, seconded by Commissioner Mays to approve the contracts as a group. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, under pending legal review, okay. Memorandum of understanding between the county commission and the mayor, and it's an agreement to memorialize the obligation of the county's ARPA state and local physical recovery funds awarded by Tennessee Department of Health to renovate the health department. Contract 230088.
Move to approve pending law director's approval.
Commissioner Mays moves to approve, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
All right, and number 5 is just the information purposes, surplus vehicles. We surplus 3 vehicles from the sheriff's department. We're starting bids at 300, and you can see the winning bids, $1,850, $39.49, and $6,200. So
Do we have a motion?
we don't need one.
Oh, we don't
It's
need
just
one on that?
information.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Moving on to the cash and fund balance report.
All right, cash and fund balance report, November 30th, ending November 30th, 2024. The general fund, restricted funds are at 2.2 million. Our committed funds are 518,537. Assigned funds, 4.5 million. Unassigned fund balance, 11.6 million. Total fund balance, 19,040,668. Cash, 16,923,325. The school department, Board of Education, 10,676,669 is fund balance. Cash, 11,483,478. Cash is up 2.6 million from last November too, as far as the general fund goes as well.
Any questions about that, Commissioner Mack?
Just real quick, Robbie, I was looking at the cash trends
Yeah.
from 20 to this year. There's a $7 million difference.
Yes.
Is part of that, is part of that just grant funding, or is it just,
Well, a lot of it, sales tax, I think, when we started getting the internet sales tax, the county, our portions increased quite a bit there for a while, the last 3 or 4 years, so has a lot to do with that, in my opinion.
and not to steal your thunder, I saw sales tax this month was considerably higher than
Yeah.
last year's.
For the county portion, 25%, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any further questions? All right, we'll move on.
Since
Go ahead,
Tyler's
Rob.
already reported out on sales tax, so I'm just kidding. So sales tax, up 8.9% is the county as a whole, $4,070,036. The county portion, $497,462, 25% from last October.
Commissioner Mack?
I just had a question about that. How close are we to what we budgeted then, or how much over are we? the
Well,
more
right
we-
now, we're at 2 million. You can see the totals. We're doing this on a fiscal year total now, so we're at $2,012, and last year, the first 4 months,
What-
probably more like
what did we
18. We're
budget?
probably about $200,000 more this year
Okay.
than we were last at this
Well,
point.
So what did we budget for that?
I've got that right here. I think maybe $2 million, but I'm not
Okay.
100% sure.
Okay.
$2,110,000.
So we're about 100,000 over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any further questions? All right, moving on.
All right, ARPA projects report. So, as you know, this is the last month to commit funds, and we still have 2 years to spend them, but we have to have them committed, with either contract, PO, or whatever by the end of this month. And we did have some news, our CDBG grant that we had previous funds from ARP committed. We had no bidders on that project, and I guess it was the end of November that we received that news. So that money goes back in the pot. So right now, currently, if you look at this, revenue loss, 468,132. I'm sorry, my eyes aren't. Other eligibilities is a negative 171,322, and for a total 296,810 that we have to spend. But we also have some projects that are going to have a little bit of extra. So John feels safe that if we spend up to $350,000, we will get that money back, and that's what we would have to turn back in if we don't spend it by the end of December. So,
Mr. Chairman, with that,
Amazing.
with that news, I'd like to add the discussion of the disbursement of those funds under new business. So we can, last thing I want to do is get that money back to the Treasury.
yes.
Um,
No, we
we
don't
could-
have to commit the interest. We don't have to do anything
No.
with it.
But at the very least, I think there's probably some good ideas floating around in terms of how that money can be spent.
Did I say that right, John? What we're Yes, so 296, 810, 20 is, and that is in revenue loss, so we have less restrictions, so we can do a lot with that, a lot more with that. But with some of the projects that we have currently that aren't completed, we are gonna have some funds left over, and then we think that we feel pretty safe, 350, 325, and in, other eligibilities. It's kind of a guessing game right now still, so.
So the motion is to add the disbursement of remaining ARPA funds to the agenda under new business.
Yes, sir.
Second by Commissioner Mays. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay. Any questions on this project list, though? We also made the correction.
Clarification, you said that how much was left that had to be dispersed, not including interest?
296. Right now, the total we have on the sheet is the third column there, at the top, 296, 810, 20. But we will have some funds we know left over with some of the other projects, like a 5,000 here, or they can't, they're not.
A rough estimate, how much are
We,
we talking?
you think 350? John thinks around 350,000 would
And
be
then how much
safe.
would- how
And if we
much
spend
interest?
more, we have it in interest, so,
So how much in interest?
400 and, no, 340, 605, 75.
So 350 and 340.
Would it be, I don't wanna get ahead of the vote, but I know there's a request in this to use ARPA money for a project. I think it was like
14,000 something, yeah.
So just kind of keep that
Yep.
in our minds.
I just wanna make sure I was on the right page with you too. We got two, 350 and 340.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Any other questions on the ARC projects? All right, hearing none, we'll move on.
Okay, and the next is a grant inventory list. I didn't get the changes Commissioner Wandell made, but I will try to work on those before commission meeting. And, but if there's any, it's just an inventory list, so there's usually not a lot of questions about this.
Moving on to the consent agenda.
All right, 1 through 5 are transfers that don't require commission approval. We're seeking approval as a group.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Bochamp moves to approve items 1 through 5 as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
All right. 6 through 8 are from the school department. There are 3 appropriations. All 3, I think, deal with revenue increases and increasing expenditure codes.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Mays moves to approve items 6 through 8 as a group, seconded by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, 9 and 10 are from animal control, the mayor's office, $5,000 from the restriction to other supplies and materials, and a 2,750 from the restricted code for additional uniforms, for T-shirts for shelter volunteers and staff, as well as ACO uniforms.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Bochamp moves to approve items 9 and 10
I'll
as a
second.
group, seconded by Commissioner Vandegrift. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, number 11 is from Fleet Services. It's increasing their revenue for contracted services, $10,000, and tires and tubes, $5,000, and other contracted services, $5,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Smallridge to approve item number 11,
Second.
second by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Thank you. 12 and 13 are from the library, from the Clinton Public Library. Number 12 is $7,004 from restricted funds for data processing equipment. It is a 50% match on the LSTA grant. So, and number 11 is, I'm sorry, number 12 is for $625 from restricted funds for barcodes for library materials.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Vandegrift moves to approve items number 12 and 13 as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Bochamp. Any discussion? Commissioner Allen?
Yeah, I'd like to find out what the data processing equipment is, if Mr. Chairman can talk about that.
I'm not sure exactly off the top of my head what they're getting, but I think they get that grant every year.
They do.
Yeah. Was there anything on there about specifically
No.
what it was?
And that grant stands for Library Services and Tech Grant. But I can find out before commission for you, the meeting.
I'm just curious if you can find that out. I'm okay with it, but just kind of like to know. I would like to know also, there are several lines under there. If one could just be a little bit more descriptive, that would be very, very helpful.
Sure. I'll make that
Thanks.
suggestion as well.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay. 14 and 15 are from the Highway Department. Number 14 is an insurance recovery revenue that they're moving into the other contracted services code, $6,162.50. And number 15, I'm sorry, this front and back is confusing
Yeah.
me as well.
Yeah.
I do this because we have all these contracts and they're huge, but I might have to quit because I can't find my number.
The paper will let you, the schools will give you a read the paper.
Dr. Barrett. And $150,000 from restricted for other, 50 for other contracted services, and $100,000 for crushed stone.
Motion to approve as a group.
Commissioner Smallridge moves to approve items number 14 and 15 as a group. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Mays. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay. Number 16 is from the county clerk's office. It is a $6,000 increase in revenue for county clerk additional fee and titling and registration, and a increase to, it has 189 on there, but I'm changing that code to 186, which is longevity pay, $5,000, and 709 others, data processing equipment for $1,000.
Robbie, sorry, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Okay.
For a procedure question in terms of
Oh, okay, go
the
ahead.
amendment. There's three amendments, or
Yes,
I
same
think
thing.
there's some appropriations coming up, an amendment that are all kind of tied together. And then I think there's some just regular standard business on some of them. Is there any way that we can pull off the standard business ones, take that up, and then take up this longevity together instead of just kind of
Yes, so
beating a
I
dead
can,
horse?
the first one would be then $1,000 from title and registration fees for data processing equipment.
So we call that what, 16A?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
So you make a motion to approve 16A?
Yes.
Everybody understand what we're doing on that? No. Okay.
How much was it?
So.
Just
on
$1,000.
here,
Just
they've got
1,000.
everything. Yeah, we're just dividing these up down here at the bottom.
Gotcha.
So
Thank
Commissioner
you.
Mays moves to approve item number 16A, which is the processing equipment increase. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Now we're on to 16B.
Which would be, I think, is the circuit court clerk has a You have
Yes,
a-
they have asking for $9,200 in part-time help, increasing part-time help, and increasing in lieu of salary for the circuit court clerk, $9,200.
But do they have anything, and that's non-longevity related, right?
It's for part-time help in collections department. Is
Okay. Make a motion to approve that. That's 16B.
That'd be 17. wouldn't it?
So.
Let's make that 17B. I was going to say since it's number.
17B.
Yes.
Everybody again understand what we're doing here? Commissioner Mays moves to approve item 17B. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Vandergrift. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carries.
Okay.
Motion Mays is keeping us on the pace.
And so the three longevity payments, $5,000 for the county clerk, $8,800 for the circuit court clerk, and $6,000 for the register of deeds.
So you're wanting to discuss them all as one, Commissioner Mays?
I think it would be, for the sake of time and efficiency,
So
yes.
what do we want to call that, Robbie? 16, 17, 18?
We'll just, let's call it 18A.
All right. All right, I think it's the first time we've ever done it that way. Since I've been over here.
I get it.
New water on that.
I should have probably asked them to split those up to begin with, just for.
All right, so then the item of discussion is the longevity pay for the county clerk's office, the circuit court clerk's office, and the register of deeds office is now the top of the conversation. Is that correct? Okay. So with that being in mind, and we'll try this and we'll back up and punt if we need to, do we have a motion on this so that we can try to keep things on track with a motion, then a second, and then discussion? I'll at least give that a shot before we have to go a different route.
I think I'll make a motion
Okay.
for approval for discussion.
Commissioner Mays moves to approve the longevity pay, which we're calling 18A, for the county clerk's office, circuit court clerk's office, and the register of deeds office. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion? Where do we begin?
I think we let them discuss.
All right.
Yeah.
Who wants to be first, fellas?
I'll go ahead and go first and tell you what my office is looking at. Right now, my office has 3 of our 4 employees with 30-plus years service. One of the things that we have talked about through the years is about retention and keeping employees, and obviously looking at even rewarding those employees who have been with us through long periods of time. As you see in our plan, you'll notice that all 3 of us, and including not only that, but that's the plan that we've mimicked off of the sheriff's department, the road department, and I believe the EMS department, correct? I believe that, no, not EMS, that we're using that same model as far as our policy. So the policy is going to be the same as what you have with those 2. Our thinking is this, that when you get employees, it is hard to retain them. And obviously, I've had some discussions with several of you about that before we even came up here. One of those discussions that came to mind was, what about those folks that are not being paid a living wage, so to speak, or at least a below poverty level wage? And I don't really have an answer for that. That's not something that I'm dealing with in my department. I don't have a way to address that. But I will tell you that what we're asking is that you're just moving budgeted money from one code to another. We're not asking for more revenue. We're just simply asking that you fund it within the existing budget that you provided by us making cost cuts and other things to accomplish that. The second thing is, obviously, with me having the number of employees that I have with 30-plus years of service, we found a mechanism that does help retain these employees. But it's awful hard to continue that process when literally they can sit there and say, well, I'm at a retirement age, I could walk out the door, simply because we're not treating them the same as other employees within Anderson County government. And that gives me pause, because we do want to try and treat every employee the same throughout our body of work. And so I'm asking you today to support this and to fund this, not that you're having to find monies to give us, but rather that you're just transferring money from one code to another. And it does require full commission approval since we're putting it in salary codes. And so if we get through this bite of the apple, we'll have to deal with it again with full commission. But we do ask you to support our employees.
And just to add on to Tim, out of my 19 employees, 12 have 5 years or less service. So it is very hard to keep employees. You can keep them 2 or 3 years or so, and then they want to find better jobs. So we're just trying to find another tool. You know, this isn't the silver bullet, but it's one of many things we can do to help retain our employees. And what I did, I'm going to hand out this. This is, and I didn't want to come back and ask for county money to do it. I mean, we discussed this last year and a few months ago. I kind of wanted to wait to see how revenues were going. This is just kind of showing you what we've done as far as collections. I'm trying, what we've been able to do the last, it's about a 10-year snapshot. I'm sorry, y'all share. So we have, since I've been in office, we started out with our little salary code we turned in was about a little over $600,000. This year, looks like we're going to break $1 million. We've done extremely well, and it's mainly because of the efforts we're putting in the collections, the staff. So they're working hard. Not only if they're doing their job, they're doing it for the benefit of the county. And so that's why I felt like I could come in and ask for a little bit extra for from our revenues that we're bringing in to offset this, so we're not asking to come back to the county commission and ask y'all to fund it. And not only the close to the $1 million we're collect on our clerk fee, we also collected about another $500,000 for the county through sheriff's fees, through DUI fees, lit tax, court security, all kinds of things. So I want to really praise my staff for, it's a team effort. It's not just 2 or 3 people. It's everybody working together. But we have really ramped up our collections department, and I think it's really benefited the county. So my staff would really appreciate this. They're excited about it. We'd hope you all would consider this for approval.
And I'm kind of the same line of Tim and Rex. We, this was brought to us in our budget packet in February in the questionnaire that could we fund it? Could we move money around? And, when we met in HR I'd say we've been talking about this probably for about a year and a half. And, that was, it was brought to our attention with a prior commissioner that we needed to come and ask for it to see. And we're just trying to push the ball down the field a little more. And like I said, this comes out of, I've got a revenue source that I can pay for it. And like I said, I've had some turnover the last 3 or 4 years. I've had some retirements. We've had some other issues, people moving on with some other job opportunities. And, it's kind of an investment within our staff. I'm definitely not a one-man band. We have to have quality people. We've got quality people in our county, and I know that we all want to support them and see if we can make it a little bit easier for them.
Any questions for the clerk or the clerks or the register of deeds?
See, they matched today.
Well, we wanted to make sure.
I knew you was going to say that. I knew you was going to say that.
Any questions or discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I have, I guess, a question and a comment. If I may. First, the question would be sustainability. Jeff, you and I have talked today already, and Tim and I briefly talked, but it's like Rex, when I look at your fees, I see obviously the trend is going in the right direction. The question I would have is, let's say that this becomes the silver bullet and all of your employees now become eligible for this. Well, when you look at a 10-year trend, it's not like fees are going up exponentially, right? So my question would be is, once we get to that number of 18 employees that are getting paid this, do you think, and have you looked at it based on the trajectory of collections, will you be able to sustain this in your budget?
And I do. If you look at our projection, it's kind of like a U shape. Back in 2010, we had over 600 civil cases. It's in the criminal court, civil criminal. And today last year we had 134. And you know, Tyler, how much more a civil case pays than criminal. So we have lost our real revenue source, but crime has went up, you know. And so the result of that has been it's just from the collecting the money. We make sure that's part of our program. My department, that's why I want to keep it in a separate code, because if I ever come to the point where the collections drop off and I can't afford it, I would expect to come back and say, listen, I'm gonna terminate the plan or suspend it until, revenues come back around.
Yeah.
But I would like to keep it in a separate code so we can monitor for that. So basically, I'm basing this off of the collection side of the house, and everybody helps with collections. And if we're not collecting the money, I would expect to reward our employees. But I also don't think, if you ever look at the history of all these departments, and Tim's a little bit exception where the majority of his employees are really tenured employees. I'd say in the clerk's office, if you look back over 20 years, I don't think we've ever had half the staff that's had more than 12, 13 years of service.
Yeah.
I just think it's the turnover, people get jobs, they move. So I always expect it's definitely going to increase, but I don't expect it to do much more than, double what we're asking for.
So, Mr. Chairman, I think, and I appreciate that, Rex, and I've shared this, I shared this with Jeff too, is when Robbie sent out the list, the thing that jumped off the page to me was that we have 84 employees that are non-sheriff and non-road. 84 employees full-time that are below, at, or just above poverty level under the federal guidelines. I'm not saying that that's their problem. I'm just saying for us as a body, that is an issue. And that speaks to, we talk about wanting to care for our employees. I'll use, Tim's office as an example. Tenured employees do a phenomenal job. They are, a model for registered deeds offices across the state. But they get compensated well, too. It's hard to look someone in the eye that makes $28,000 a year to say, hey, I'm going to give an employee that makes $72,000 another $2,000 a year because they've been here for a while. That's the hard balance to strike, and I don't know if I have the answer. I'm just, I feel like that needs to be addressed. And the other thing too is, I think for the sake of the discussion, I think it doesn't paint a good light for them or the sheriff or for us. We don't need to look at employees. We treat them as equal, but everybody has different jobs. And for us to compare what someone in the records office does at the sheriff's office to what Bryce Kidwell does is wrong. You don't do that. Just as you don't compare someone in Jeff's office to someone who is on patrol or working in a unit. I think that we need to throw that out the window of discussion. And I appreciate these gentlemen. I know the mayor, when we approved it for the sheriff, she still wants to stand up for her employees too. I'm not faulting that, but I think we need to stop with the narrative that all things are equal when we look at stuff, because again, they're not. And so, I'll leave it at that. I know that there might be other discussion, but I think this is we need to have a discussion on how we, make our pay disparity an issue. We have a Clinton librarian that makes $21,000 a year more than the Bryceville librarian. Those are things that we've got to wrap our head around that I think may elevate higher than longevity. But that's just my thought.
And the only thing I would say is the average, I've got 8 employees that'd be eligible under our plan that I've presented. $800 is the average. And I don't think that's going to fix our salary discrepancies we have. It's just more of rewarding our employees for doing, for staying here. It's one of many tools that you all offered, the raise you gave last year, the insurance benefits, the changes we made, the clinic downstairs. When you put all those together, there's about 8 or 10 tools that are helping retain our employees. Just one by itself won't, but it's just a little something extra that we can pay, and it's really, we're not asking the county to fork up any money for it.
I have a question.
Commissioner Allen?
Yeah, are we looking at maybe having longevity pay for all of the apartments in the county? We have the sheriff right now, and then you three want longevity pay. Are we looking at maybe extending this to all the all the departments?
Kind of giving a little history of it, and this is where I was kind of, you know, it's nobody's fault, but you know, when this was brought up about a year, well, I don't know, maybe a year and a half ago, Tyler, we were talking some dates, give or take. You know, the HR committee spoke to pass it to you know, after these other departments had got approved. You know,
The other department, that's just the one.
Highway Department.
well,
Highway
and
and the sheriff.
yeah.
So that's two.
Yeah,
And so now, with-
That's half the employees in the county though.
And
Okay.
you know, with our HR meetings, you know, we thought that we, you know, that was the next step, that we were going to try to go and get something established for the rest of the county. And you know, we went in there, the committee voted, and then, like I said, it was brought to our attention that we needed to come and ask for, and I think that was what was behind the questionnaire.
We were
Robbie.
told to come and present it and
Yeah.
find a way to fund it.
Yeah, and that's why we're here today. We're not here
so how
to,
many more departments do we have to go if
That
we have
100 more employees at least.
yeah, that I don't know.
Just give me a round.
Departments.
There's probably,
I can answer that.
And
how
I
many
think
more
they should-
departments? How-
And I can give you more of the history. We started this 2 years ago. I remember a meeting at Harrison's and it was first discussed.
Yeah.
Aaron Wells, Commissioner Wells was actually the one that made that comment about it. Departments can fund it. I find that unfair because not every department has a revenue source.
Right.
So we have a lot of departments that cannot fund a longevity pay, but I can promise you, if you give this, they're all gonna want it, and they should get it. You look at Knox County, they have a longevity pay plan. I looked it up. They give it to every employee.
City.
It shouldn't just be certain departments. And I cautioned the budget committee when the sheriff, I asked y'all to take it out, if you remember, because I said we were already working on a plan, but it got passed because they're first responders, yet we give it to their office workers who don't respond first. They're just like everybody else that works in the courthouse. But if this is passed, I promise you, I'm writing my check for my people tomorrow. I have the money in my budget. I don't need to ask for it. And it will happen.
How much money would it take, Robbie, to give the non-fee offices the longevity pay?
Well, the fee offices I have in, with my spread, $118,900 for $100 for the 5 years at $100 for all departments. That includes these 3 departments as well.
Did we pay for that with the interest off the ARP?
Yes. For this year until, I mean, you know,
That would cover all departments.
that would
It's gonna be
cover all
about
departments.
100,000.
Highway already has it budgeted. Sheriff's already has it budgeted. I'm not including them.
But that's for 1 year.
That is for this year.
We'd have to come up with the funding.
And this changes a lot. People retire, people quit. I mean, you know, it's a moving target every year. So, but yes, that would.
So, follow-up question, if I may.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what would be the angst in looking at, doing all of the departments? I mean, would you guys have any problem with, I mean, you guys can make an ask now, but what if we, looked at coming up with the numbers to do all of the all of the departments, rather than just have these 5?
Right. Well, Commissioner, I don't think the 3 fee offices can answer that because they only represent their own office. It's which is what they're here for. I mean, I don't represent all the offices, but I do think every employee, if one employee gets it, they all should get it personally.
Well, what I'm asking is that
Because they're no different than us.
should we do a study, Robbie, to look at all of the departments getting the longevity pay, rather than just to have these 2 now and these 3 upcoming? Maybe we need to do a study or look at everything.
One of the things that you're asking about,
Yeah.
that's part of why we're here today.
Okay.
We're here to take some of that pressure off of you. When you're looking at funding this, you've just taken 3 departments off the table now. So by approving these transfers and budget amendments, what you've done is you've eliminated 3 departments that now you can go look at the others. And if you have to find a funding source for the others, you're missing our groups because we pulled them out and separated them out. So we're hoping that it takes the pressure off and makes it easier to find revenue for those others.
That's
We're not
very
here
good.
to-
That's very good.
Yeah, we're not here to try and stop anybody from getting it. We're not here to stop anybody from asking for it. We're trying to actually help you be able to say yes rather than no.
That's very good. Okay. Well, thank you for that answer. I appreciate that.
Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you guys standing up for your departments. I admired that, and I'm glad, wouldn't expect any less of you. But here in this chair, we have to think about everyone countywide. And the finance director makes a very good point, and Commissioner Allen touched on this a little bit. I would like to see a 10 or 15-year cost analysis that would show that it is something that is sustainable, that we can do that. And you talk, I know it's going to change and people come and go, but I mean, these people on this list have been here a significant amount of years, so they're probably not going to go anywhere in the next year. I don't know, but I think we could get a good picture there. And my printer's tore up, so I took a picture of my notes here, so that's why I'm on my phone. But the other thing that I'd like to see is evidence-based options. Do we know that longevity pay will answer or solve the problems that you have in your office? What do we know? Have we done anything like that? The other thing that I'd like to know is what is the turnover rate? What are our starting salaries? Could the issues be something related? Because I know we talked about, prior to this meeting, retention and recruitment. And so, and you mentioned that this helps to retain employees, but I would just like to see the evidence of that.
Well,
So I'm just asking for more information.
Well, I think that's good, and I know that we've talked some about it too, but, you know, I know the city of Clinton has, I think, longevity. Like Robbie said, Knox County has it. You know, a lot of it changed when it come to interviewing and things like that with COVID, and I know we wear that out a lot, but I mean, the workforce changed, and I did have some turnover. I had some retirements in that. I had some other issues from some workers that decided to go take more money, which is understandable. You know, and y'all been great. You know, the adjustments, that the money that's been given in the last 2 or 3 years has really helped. But that was kind of to get us to just the, you know, the top floor, so to speak, and then try to build to that. And you know, I kind of look at this as, like Rex said, it's a tool to use to try to keep somebody, maybe. And no, I don't think it's a silver bullet. No, I don't. I think it shows investment in what you've had with current employees, and I do think it gives some to give that employee an opportunity to maybe, well, if I hang it out 2 more years or another year, I might get this longevity. Because I know when I started here, and Tim too, you know, it's changed a lot, you know, when we started. And, you know, I know that 500, you know, back then, you know, $100 was good, $50 was good, whatever we could get. So, you know, I don't know all those numbers, but I know we've talked a lot about it in HR over the last, like Robbie said. I mean, we kind of beat it to death, to be honest with you, in a good way.
Right.
But, you know, and
Well, I
I
guess-
think we've got some of those numbers.
So
but
we
I don't
know, you know what your department wants,
Right.
what your employees want, but have we surveyed all the other employees? And
I think there's been a lot
exit
of it.
interviews,
Right.
is that, why are they leaving? You know, I would just like to see, I think
I know
this
with
will
mine's
help.
been- I mean, the majority of
Because
mine's
we
no.
have got a robust benefit package. We've got lots of tools in our tool belt. We've got a very good program here. So I would just like to have the evidence. I'd like to know, are they leaving? Why are they leaving? And
Well, I
then
know
I'd
they're
like to
leaving-
know if it's something, not I think, but what, is this going to solve some of our issues?
I know what Ms. Whitaker said before she left. The last HR meeting I think we had was that we're losing people the 1, 2, and 3 years. You know, we even talked about maybe extending this to the 3rd year. But we decided to go 5, and I think that's the better option too. So, and a lot of it is, I don't know, I know what they've told me, you know, Jeff, I'm leaving for more money, and, you know, and again, I get it, you know, and I think Tim's had some of that too.
I lost an employee 2.5 years ago because I couldn't match the salary. Now, they went to the plants. We're not going to be able to compete with the plants. We're just
Right.
not. But that young lady was sitting there, and in her mind, she envisioned being here long enough to actually be where the other 3 employees that I have are at. That's what she was looking at. That was her goal. And when you start talking about what is the benefit to giving it to senior employees like what I was talking about, it is that incentive for the 3 or 4 year employee that I currently have that sits there and says, one day I'm going to get that. I want to get to that point. And if there's any incentive to keep them for that 5-year period of time, that first check will make a huge difference. And that's really what it's about, is how do we give more money to folks at the same time not trying to hurt any department, and certainly not trying to bankrupt the county. And this was just one of the tools that the HR department had done studies on, had looked at, had realized that other communities around us was doing this. And so they were pushing it as a good tool, or a good benefit, if you would, to sort of retain those employees. And we sort of agreed with that as a committee. And when we brought it,
Were bonuses ever discussed?
we don't have a way to give bonuses right now, currently. We're under a salary agreement which says this is the money you get and this is what you can pay. And so, you know, if you want to give away to give bonuses, we'd love that too. But
Well, I'm just
but that's not
thinking-
really where we were going. We're looking at an incentive that says across the board, how can we be fair to employees to give an incentive? And this was one of those incentives. And while you're sitting there thinking about a 30-year employee getting that $2,000, while that sounds, you know, like unfair to other people, it also is kind of an incentive to say, look, if you stay around long enough, that's going to be you.
And
Because I
I'm
can tell you right
really-
now, those people that are in my office, they started out making $18,000 and $19,000 a year.
I am not thinking that way.
I know.
I'm just thinking every year.
Oh, yeah,
We've
and-
got to come up with this money every year. That's what I'm thinking, the
Well, and that-
sustainability, and then just evidence to show that this is going to be a good solution.
Well, and that was one of the reasons why we looked at taking it out of our, but how do we exist within that existing budget we've got? And, you know, Robbie even said in his department, I mean, literally, he's going to write a check tomorrow, but I mean, he's saying that he's already got the money. That these other groups and these other departments, they're already looking to find ways to stand where we're standing, to say we have a way to fund that. And when they get up here and say that, what needs to happen, in my opinion, is for that endorsement to say, hey, you've done what we asked you to do. You went and you found it in your budget. We're not having to go back and find extra revenue. And going forward, if you want to afford it, this is how we do it. And that's the only reason that we want to address it that way, is so that you all have the chance to speak on that.
One thing I'll say is, probably out of the last 6, I'm trying to think, last 6 employees I had, I know 3 probably left because of more money. But we can't pay them enough money to compete with where a lot of these employees are going. The benefit package like we talked about, I agree with you. We got a great package. You bring in these younger employees, they don't know what the TCRS means. They don't understand that. They don't know about health insurance.
Well, they have to
so
wait
they gotta-
5 years to get $500, according
but
to
they-
this
but
plan.
I'm telling you,
You gotta be fiscal.
I've got 8 employees that'd be eligible. The average is $800. And that, in December, means the world. That's, you just, their eyes lit up like, oh my gosh, it's that time of year, I can definitely, so it definitely will help retain.
Well, we've
But
got
one
great
thing will not
employees.
retain. One thing won't, we can prove at the jail. I mean, look at the turnout at the jail. You could double the salaries and you're still gonna have a lot of turnover. But it's one little thing. that
Let
won't
me
do.
say that, and you make a good point about sustainability, and I'll hush. You know, this is a tool, and let's say we can't fund it. Let's say our fees bottom out, and all 3 of us. You know, that's just like taking holidays away. I mean, when me and Tim started, we got election day off. We got 3 election days that year, and you know, we look forward to that. You know, we don't have that no more. You know, if
You have 14 holidays.
I know, but I'm just saying, I'm not saying good or bad, but I'm just saying, we didn't have 14 then, though, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
But the point is, if we have to pull it back, if we don't make fees, we just have to pull it back. You know, that's what I mean. I'm not saying, no, we got plenty of holidays.
I'm just,
You
I
got a good
need more
package.
information, I
Right,
think
I
is what I'm
understand.
trying to say right
Sustainability,
now.
That's why, the sustainability, that's why I showed you a chart. The last 7 years, I can show you, it's continually increasing. And that's all I can't show you more than that. And that trend, I just don't expect it to drop off tomorrow.
Okay.
Commissioner Bochamp.
I was just going to ask for evidence, Commissioner Bell, could even respond to this. Has it helped retain employees for the detention facility? Or-
I'm not gonna say it's helped retain the 1 to 3 year employees that Jeff made mention to. And when you start getting up to the 5, 6, 7, 8 year employees, then yeah, I would say that it's probably made a considerable difference in their, choice if they had another job offer.
Right.
Again, obviously, we can't compete with the plants, somewhere like that, but yeah, I think it does help once you get up to where it is a substantial amount. We don't even have that many of those. I think myself and maybe a handful of others, I guess, off the top of my head,
I just don't think it's helping with hiring and retaining employees that's a different animal though.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I just want to, I love disclosures, so I want to put it on the record before everybody thinks I'm being mean. Oh, Commissioner Bochamp, my husband has ran their campaigns. He may run their campaigns again. So don't think I'm just coming at these three, but who would I be not to? So longevity, I don't even understand this when it was brought to us back with Kim. I get the whole process of it. But then Robbie asked for the salaries. I'm sorry, guys, but you got a lot of employees that are making really good money. I was floored. Then we give you a 7% raise. Then we give you a 4% raise. We give you an extra holiday. And I'm like, what's going to be good enough? Retaining employees, one of you really don't have a problem. You've had somebody here for 38 years, 34 years, 36 years. There's no problem there, but you want us to pay them $2,000, and they're already being compensated really well. I know, I've been looking at the budget. I have sat here multiple times on this budget committee and said, if we don't stop and we don't start watching our money, we're going to have a tax increase. Inflation is out the roof. I got people in my district right now, older people, who is paying all of our salaries. It's not your money. It's not your money. It's not your money. You were elected to oversee the funds. It is the citizens of this county. It's their money. So I get really frustrated when people say, well, my budget, I've got it in my budget. No, you got it in Anderson County citizens' budget because they're paying for it. They're coming over here. They're paying you fees. They're paying court costs. They're buying their tags. They're getting all this stuff. It's their money. We're so appreciative to them. But I can't look at people in my district, little senior citizens, who have paid county taxes that are lining up at the food bank just this week, Tuesday, lining up at the food bank to get food because they can't buy Christmas, and you all sit here and tell us, oh, it'd be really good for my employees. They're sitting down there, don't know how to pay their light bill right now. And for me, that's very frustrating. I get what y'all are saying, and I'm over here every day. I see it. I don't want to come down on you three with your employees or anything like that, but $500 ain't going to make a difference. And I know how government works. We see it every day. Big government, let's keep on funding it. We never take anything back. We have never sat down and looked at a budget and pulled from your budget, or your budget. It just keeps gaining. This year we're going to. I can tell you that because I told you all, bring it to the budget hearing. If you knew that you had funds in a maintenance code or a part-time code, you should have brought it during budget and said, hey, I want to get on board with the sheriff's department, or I want to go along with Gary Long. Now here we are in December, getting ready to start budget hearings again, and you want us to pay out employees because it's good and they're excited for it. You shouldn't have told them to begin with. Until it went through, you shouldn't have probably even told employees because now they're probably going to be really upset with you. That's my thing. You don't tell people that something can happen until it's happened. This is a whole different commission than what it is. So for me, you can't just come up here and be like, oh, please give us this money, because you know that in a year from now or 2 years from now, the money is not going to be there. Unless you're willing to endorse a will tax, and then all three of you can pay your employees, because here comes 5 years. then maybe we can pay every county employee, but it can't just be fee offices that's getting the benefit from all this. And for me, I would like to see a cost analysis. I would like to see, I called it the Nathan Sweet plan, the option 1, the option 2, the option 3. I need detailed information. I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, the money's in my code, it's in my budget, let's just transfer it over. Well, if you didn't need it this year, and you didn't need it last year, I assure you, you're not getting it in this budget when we do budget hearings. I've been watching it for the last 2 years I've been sitting up here. Round 3 is gonna be totally different. So for me, I would like to see Drew do a cost analysis. Are you writing this down, Robbie? I want option 1, 2, and 3. I do not want to hear from the elected officials or the department heads. I want to hear from the employees. Do they want a raise? Do they want us to give percentage raises? Or do they want longevity plan? Is that what they want? Because I feel like and I was talking to somebody else the other night about this, another elected official, and I was talking about her department getting this. If you've got a person that has worked here 10 years, and we all know we don't want to fire people, it's hard to get employees. I've been there myself working in probation. Sometimes you just deal with stuff. And then you've got an employee that's been here for 2 years that outshines the 10-year employee, the 30-year employee. We're going to tell that 2-year employee that they're not good enough. You get nothing, but if you stay here 5 years, we'll give you $500. How do we benefit every county employee of this county? So I would like to see a cost analysis done with HR, a detailed cost analysis, not just an HR meeting, like detailed plan of what the employees want.
If that's a motion, I'll second that motion.
That's a motion.
All right, hang on. We got a motion on the floor right now, so I guess the proper procedure would be to make an amendment to have a cost, what'd you call it?
A cost analysis with maybe option 1, 2, and 3. I want to hear from the employees of what they want from Anderson County government. Would they rather have us give raises? Because that's one thing we look at in budget. Robbie brings that to us and tells us, you can do percentage A, B, or C. I want to know what the employees want, not what their department head or their elected official thinks is good enough for them, because it's not my job to build up morale. That's the department head, that's the elected official. I'm doing my part. I think that this legislative body has been really good to all county employees the last 2 years. I'm very pleased with the job that we've done. But I don't want to hear from them, I want to hear from the employees.
So the motion on the floor is to amend the motion to, I guess, change the entire motion to a cost analysis.
Mr. Chairman, I have a parliamentary
Okay.
question. If you want to go ahead, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
What's all right?
So the current motion on the floor was a motion to approve.
Right.
This would change the disposition of that motion, so I'm not sure that this would be an appropriate amendment.
I'll pull it back.
We can either vote this up or down,
That'd be the clear way to do it.
Yeah, let's do
or
that.
there can be a motion to defer to another date, which would override, obviously, the current amendment on the floor. I mean, the current motion on the floor.
Withdraw?
Yeah, I'll withdraw mine.
Okay, all right. Thank you for that. So the motion on the floor is still to approve the,
Longevity for the 3 offices.
Mr. Chairman, can we come back and, after this vote? to
I'll bring
maybe-
it back.
Okay, all right.
I think that'd be the clearer way to do it. Yeah, yeah.
Just a comment on what Commissioner Saber said just a moment ago. I would not argue some of the points you made. I think you're right on the money. The reason we're here is that we're trying to put something in front of you to make you aware that there are people that do need this, that they're waiting to see what happens with us. I mean, we're really your guinea pigs, if you want to call it that. We're putting our necks out there for that purpose. Will my employees stay if they don't get this? Sure they will. That's not what it's about. This is about saying to our employees as a whole, what is commission going to do in regards to all these other things? And so our purpose for being here today is to give you a mechanism in which to do those things. When we talk about the cuts that we're making to do this, there are some cuts in here that they're having to give up. I mean, our employees as a whole are having to make certain sacrifices, which may come down to pens and paper. It may come down to the chair they're sitting in, and they gotta have that wobbly chair one more year. There are things that are gonna happen because we're trying to set a standard in Anderson County, and that's what it's about. And I hate that you're seeing the three of us as coming in here asking for something. What we're doing is, we're presenting to you a way in which if you fund it countywide, you've got 3 departments that you now don't have to worry about. And that's its only purpose. If you think that we're here to ask for more for our employees on its own, that's not really what it's about. This is about a countywide employee incentive. And I mean, if you're endorsing what we're doing here, then I would expect you to do everybody else's. If you're not planning to do that, I'd just soon you not vote for mine, because I do think it's that important that we treat everybody as equal as we can. So that's where I'm at, is that, I mean, I just think you've got to take a direction here. Like I said, we've been doing this for 2 years. That's a long time for us to be dealing with one issue that really comes down to $100,000. And we'll spend more than that with less time spent on that. So take that for what it's worth. And as far as Sabre, I can tell you right now, if you're asking me today whether they want this or they want a pay raise, they're going to take the pay raise every time, right? That's not the question. If you're doing this, this can't be in the same relation to that, because I don't think that's what you did with the sheriff. I don't think that's what you did with the road department. And I think that's going to set a different precedent. And I don't think
Mr.
that's fair to
Chairman.
put the departments against each other like that.
I'd like to offer an amendment to the motion that's on the floor. I'd like to
There is no motion on the floor at this time.
My, the original motion
The
is,
original motion.
Not an amendment, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
so I
not
want to
an amendment.
amend that original to a deferral.
that wouldn't be an amendment for just
Okay.
parliamentarian, it would be a standalone motion.
Okay, I want to make a motion to defer until we get this information that has been requested of the finance director, the cost analysis and all of the things.
I think we need to vote the original up or down.
Not if there's a deferral motion. She's got to get a second.
And let's defer it a couple of months, 60 days maybe. What would that be? February? That'll get us into the budget season.
So the motion is to defer until the February Budget Committee meeting
Yes.
with the cost analysis information. Am I correct on that? Is that your intent?
Yes.
Okay.
And the other things that Robbie wrote down, all the things.
Is that how the motion needs to be worded? The other things that Robbie wrote?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah, all
I got
that.
you. I got you.
I don't need to bring my motion back because you put it in yours.
Okay.
We got this on TV and tape.
All right, so that's the motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Any opposed say no? No. No. So that's going to be 6-2, so the motion carries. Jerry? Commissioner White and myself.
Oh, you were.
Yep. So now we're back on the motion as amended.
No, I think now it's over with, it's deferral. It's, now, it's, my
It's
motion's
defer-
dead, and we hear it in February.
You know, to be honest with you, I don't even think there's a debate on the deferral motion either.
No, it's now that.
We
now
didn't
we've
debate
approved
it.
the deferral motion. My motion is dead, and we just move on to the next agenda.
All right.
We don't know if she put it in her.
It was in my,
Oh, that's part of the motion.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Yeager, could you repeat that, please?
It was done right because the only discussion you can have is the time of the deferral.
Okay.
Which includes handling.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
Cost analysis.
So we were right, we just didn't know. All right, thank you, gentlemen. Next item on the agenda is, I guess, new business. The election commission,
find my agenda.
salary.
No. We have,
The,
Section,
here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Section A, I think is the
Section A.
mayor's request for solid waste. Right. I can't find my,
Well,
front back copy.
yeah.
But I know that's section A.
Yeah, Section A, the mayor's.
Yes, this,
Thank you, Mayor.
what came before the Solid Waste Committee is, we're working on a new recycling facility. And the Solid Waste Committee asked and voted unanimously for me to request funds in the amount of $14,000 that would allow for the geotechnical exploration and construction materials testing, and I put that entire proposal in your packet. It has all the details, including the scope of work and all of that. And we can get this PO in place by December 31st if you use ARP funds.
Commissioner Allen moves to approve Section A, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried. Thank you, Mayor.
Under section B, we had a request from Josh Anderson. I put on here Nathan Wade.
Good evening. So I'm Nathan Wade. I'm the principal at Anderson County Career and Technical Center. Before I ask for anything, I kind of want to paint a vision about the nuclear workforce and the future and how Anderson County schools can help with that. I know several people here were in a meeting a few weeks ago at the Oak Ridge Chamber, and this is kind of a plan that my construction program had started back in the summer, and this is kind of a continuation of that. I've got with me today Mr. Phil Pike. He's one of my construction teachers, and Mr. Eric Woodard is actually on his way back from the Chattanooga area. He went down to meet with Wood Brothers Construction at something called the PI Center, which is an innovation center that runs a school, a career and technical school like ours, but more like a business where students are, instead of going to class every day in that building, they're going out and they're working on that workforce development. And so he went down there to specifically meet with our construction folks to kind of see how they do it, so we can try to revamp a little bit about what we're doing at our school. So kind of paint that vision. So when you want to do great things, you gotta be bold. And when I started as the principal back in the summer, I met with all my programs and I said, when you look at your standards and you look at what your program is doing, like what are we missing? What does our local industry need? What does our local workforce need? And our construction guys said, before you build anything, you got to prep a site. You've got to move some dirt around, and that's not something that we really cover. And so I said, well, let's kind of explore that. So we went to TCAT Knoxville, which is one of our post-secondary partners, and they have a Caterpillar simulator. Caterpillar is it's a universal brand in that industry. You go to any construction site on the planet, and you're probably seeing a Caterpillar product. And so they talked about their students work on a simulator, and then they send them out to their work site out in the field and teach their college students how to run that equipment and get them sent out into the workforce, and they're kind of ahead of the game. So when a company hires them, they know what's going on, they know how to run the equipment, and they're bringing more value to that company. So that's kind of where it started. What makes us unique? Okay, so for those of you who don't know, we felt for a long time that we're a leader in career and technical education in the state. My evidence for that is in my 8 years as assistant principal and now my first year as principal, we get a lot of visitors from other school systems that want to come and look and see how we do things, because we're one of the few standalone career and technical schools in the state. Our residential construction program has been around for 45 plus years. Back in the day, we used to call it building trades, but it's really the same program. We've just added on new standards and tried to keep up with the times. Two-teacher program. Both of them have heavy equipment operation experience. They've got 40 plus years together in the industry. They've got 20 plus years together in teaching. We've got a lot of union and industry partnerships that's unique to us. That's not really unique to maybe Anderson County High School or Clinton High School, but the unions really work with us and a lot of those trade companies. And then our proximity to the nuclear workforce, the nuclear development that we're all familiar with that is coming into Oak Ridge. Here's our construction by the numbers right now, as accurate as I can be. So annually, we serve about 140 students from both, and these are numbers from Anderson County High School and Clinton High School. It's combined. 99% of those students, so we may have one a semester that doesn't earn an OSHA certification. So when they go out into the workforce, they already have an industry credential that these people need. Before they go work at Oak Ridge, Y12, the union, I mean, that is the first thing that they do is they get that OSHA certification. And when our kids have that, their name goes to the top of a pile on those applications, and that's what we want. We want to beat Knox County and Roane County and the surrounding counties. We want to be a leader in these areas, and so that's just evidence that the guys are doing a really good job. We send out WBL's work-based learning, so students they'll come to school for half of a day, and then they'll go out and work in whatever industry the remainder of the day. And they get high school credit for that toward their graduation, and they also sometimes get paid to do that, and they get on-the-job experience and they on-the-job training, and probably more importantly is they're getting to know maybe a future employer, because you talk about turnover rate. Well, when you're talking about young people, if they're not comfortable with who they're working with, they're out. They're out quick, and so getting them in the door early with these construction companies hopefully mitigates some of that. And then in the past few years, we've tried to do the best we could to figure out the numbers, but we're around 40 students that we've sent out to work that have been placed in the unions or job placements in the construction field. So what's the community and industry needs? So after our meeting a couple weeks ago in Oak Ridge, I did a lot of research, and I've really working with my guys, and we're really digging into this, because the number that I heard, and it's on there, was there's going to be a need for 5,000 to 10,000 skilled construction jobs in the Oak Ridge area for this nuclear development. So that's construction, that's welders, pipe fitting, all of your skilled trades. They are going to need 300 high-tech jobs. That's more your engineers, your industrial maintenance techs, your HVAC, which we offer industrial maintenance at our school as well. But it's not near the number of skilled tradesmen that you need. The Orano Nuclear, it's a French company for the uranium enrichment. They're bringing in $5 billion. Kairos Power, they're bringing in another $100 million. Department of Energy's $343 million investment. So looking at the amount of money that's coming into this area, and I know in the meeting that I was in, you've got Anderson County and Roane County. I want to be the leader in that. I want to be on the ground doing that. And in order to do that, you got to be bold. Here's some data from one of our local unions. Right now, today, if they could hire 20 students out of the school, as soon as they graduate, they will hire them. In a 5-year span, they're going to need about 200. Right now, the journeyman pay and benefits is $35 to $42 an hour. Got a great pension. Down at the last couple of bullet points is really where we're going to start talking about what the ask is. So these students, the first thing they got to do when they go to a construction site, they got to learn how to flag and be safe and have areas roped off. And when they go to the unions, it's about a 3-year process. And Mr. Pike and Mr. Woodard the past few years have done such an excellent job that a lot of these places are cutting a year off of that time in the union. So they're going from an apprenticeship to a journeyman a little bit quicker, which means more money in their pocket, which means they stay in Anderson County or maybe in the Roane County area, and the taxes stay here and the money stays here, and we're not losing them to other areas. Here's kind of our project timeline. Mr. Pike, will you hand out the, so I know I sent it electronically, the quotes for what we're asking for, and I'll explain that, but I want y'all to have a paper copy. But here's kind of the grand vision, the project timeline. So we're obviously in December. We would like to order a full simulator package from Caterpillar. It's a base unit with three big monitors, and it's I'm gonna find a picture of it and I'll come back. It's that piece of equipment on the left that you saw one of our students running at TCAT. So what we're wanting to purchase is that piece of equipment on the left. It's a full motion simulator that Caterpillar provides that they service, and you go through their curriculum, and when students complete that training, they get a certification of completion that the industry recognizes. What you have in front of you is 4 different quotes. The first quote's really what the big ask, what we're asking for. It's $89,000, $272.37. Anderson County Schools already has $41,000 ready to go for that. So the ask, keep this in mind, the ask is $60,000, and I'll explain why the 60 and what it's for, but it's not the full 89,000. We already have $41,000 kind of earmarked for it. If I click on this, show this video? These are from high schools in Georgia and what they're doing in Georgia at career and technical schools.
The Heavy Equipment Operator Program started now 3 years ago. We're in our 3rd year. To date, we have 15 schools and are just beginning with another 10 that will start this fall. So a total of 25. As a association that represents road and bridge builders, it's very hard to create programs that can fit in a high school setting to train young people and get them interested in our type of construction. So when we developed the Heavy Equipment Operator Program, it was out of necessity that we needed to find ways to get students interested in what we do. But when we saw the CAT simulators, we realized that that was a way for us to, number one, capture their attention, but also be able to give them a skill that they could immediately put to work. To date, we've had great success. We've probably got a 35–40% hit rate with students. As an employer, we're enjoying some great success in getting students that are trained and ready to go to work.
The reason we chose CAT simulators is because they are the best, because of the training modules, because of the OEM controls. So a student can go directly from the simulator right to the real iron, and it's like they're putting on a comfortable pair of blue jeans. The transition is seamless, and after a beta testing this program with our own employees, we found that once our employees went from the simulator to the real equipment, they found that the real equipment was easier than the simulator. So from an education standpoint, you can't ask for anything more than that. That really prepares them for the real iron that we need to build the roads for tomorrow.
Some success stories that we've had at Easter Site is we started off with 15 kids the first time we did it. We've grown faster than a lot of the other schools have. We're busting at the seams already. We're already getting to a point where we're having to interview kids and select the ones that get to come into the program because of the spacing that we have so far. So right now we're growing. It's a good thing. My goal is to get all these kids that's gotten through my program them jobs now.
We have about 27 students in the excavator program and 6 in the pull-up. Last year, the students really enjoyed working with the simulators, get a lot of hands-on experience. When they get on real machines, they realize that these simulators are actually harder than the real machines. So the simulators are doing their job in training the students.
I see great things for the future of this program as we continue to grow, not just in schools, but I see in quality. For the more and more contractors, the more and more industries we pull into this program, the more resources that we get, the more we're going to be able to do to meet the demand of our industry.
So I actually talked to the guy from Georgia that put out the video. I was like, you know, I love your video, but the weird thing is, like, I don't see any high school students in there. And he said, well, we actually filmed this during a training session. So those are all teachers that are going back to their high schools. Because I was kind of confused. I was like, man, they look awful old to be high school kids. I work with them every day. All right, so, you know, here's the meat again. And what's, I guess, separates this first package, the $60,000 from the other ones, that you can get a cheaper one where it doesn't move, it doesn't have the full motion, it doesn't have the virtual reality, it doesn't come with a curriculum, and it doesn't provide that certificate. And so this is why we're looking at the first package. I included the other ones because, again, you know, we're thinking long-term here. We're not just thinking 1 year, one purchase, we're thinking down the road that my guys want to work with their industry partners to provide more simulators than just having one. But in order to do that, you know, we really want to cast that vision to our industry partners and say, hey, we've got one, we're invested, and our local county's invested in it, and what a great way to show the nuclear folks that are coming in that we, you know, you want evidence that we're invested in what you're doing? Here's a great piece of evidence. We're investing in education that's going to support that industry that you're bringing in. So again, it's $60,000 what we're asking for. Here's some of our current industry partners, or some people that we don't currently work with that we're targeting. I'm not gonna talk about all of them. We've got some pictures of students, 3 weeks, a month ago, students participated in the Builders Exchange competition in Knoxville. There was probably 40 or 50 high schools there, all building framing walls, flooring systems, roofing trusses. We're gonna continue to do those things. But to my knowledge, there's nobody in the state of Tennessee that's offering anything with heavy equipment at the high school level. That's all at the post-secondary level. States surrounding us are offering heavy equipment operation at the high school level, but we're not. And I've looked far and wide. And I just think Anderson County, especially with the nuclear folks coming into Oak Ridge, these new companies, like, we need to be on the ground floor of that. And this is kind of our way of contributing to that piece of pie. You know, it's a big pie, and how do we, you know, it's kind of like eating an elephant. Like, when I heard 10,000 jobs, I was like, man, that's a lot of jobs that they need. And how do you eat an elephant? Well, you got to do it one bite at a time. And I look at this as like the first bite to digest in that. Really quick, long-term, past next year, this yellow rectangle on the satellite image is up above the Career and Technical Center. That's above my school, but to the left of CRCS. We feel like with our industry partners that we can work to get some real live equipment eventually, and we've got a flat piece of property up there, and getting kids some hours on that equipment eventually. And we've got the support of Dr. Parrott and Mr. Myers to do that, and eventually get these kids a lot of hours on equipment before they even leave high school. Mr. Woodard actually texted me on the way back and said that Wood Brothers, a pretty big construction company down toward Chattanooga, if those kids graduate with their certification through a program similar to this, but they don't have a simulator, and they don't do equipment on, they don't work on equipment on the site of the high school. They go off-site with a company. They hire them full-time. If they can run one piece of equipment, they're hiring them full-time right out of high school at $72,000 a year. If they can run 2 pieces of equipment, 2, 3, they offer them $100,000 plus 401k and benefit, and all the benefits. I mean, these are kids that are 19 years old. The other picture on the right, those are simulators. It's more of a desktop option, and so we're going to try to work with our industry partners to get a few of those for the classrooms, because obviously if you have one simulator and you've got, 140 kids, it's hard to get them all on one simulator at the same time. But it's a start, in trying to paint that vision. There's a mini excavator on the left, is kind of what we're looking at. Not purchasing, but more of maybe a donation in terms of, hey, somebody from like Stowers Cat or somebody like that will bring out a piece of equipment for a few weeks, let kids work on it. Our diesel kids, we have a diesel program, get to service it. So it's a bigger vision than just a simulator and our construction program. Here's our information. You guys have got that. If you have any questions, or if you have questions now, I'd be happy to answer them as best as I can, or Mr. Pike can jump in because he's the man on this stuff.
Commissioner Allen? Yes, Mr. Wade, how are you?
Yes, sir, doing well.
Good seeing you again.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you had $41,000 to contribute to option number 1.
Yes, sir.
And option number 2 is $41,000.
Correct.
So,
So what's the difference?
so how come you guys aren't just going ahead and jumping into option number 2 since you have the money for it?
Yeah, so the option number 2, the 41,000, they don't get the level 2 curriculum. So they learn how to turn the equipment on, they learn how to maneuver it, where the first option, they learn all that, plus they learn how to dig footers, maybe put in conduit, culverts, grade a road bed, they're graded on it, they get a certificate of completion. It's a greater depth in the curriculum. Plus that simulator, the difference between, okay, this is the first one, the first quote. The second one is that's number 1.
The first one is the CMM3.
Yes.
G4 CMM3.
Yes.
And the other one is the G4 CMM3.
So the difference,
Two different pieces of equipment.
well, it's an add-on. So this piece actually moves. So when a kid uses the joysticks, the toggle sticks, and they move, the simulator moves, and they feel that movement. The second one is just the screen and the controls. It doesn't move. It just sits flat on the ground
XM is for motion.
for motion and for the curriculum.
Gotcha,
Yep.
okay.
Yep.
Motion curriculum. Okay, I see that.
And so the 60,000 would get us to, obviously, to 101,000, and which would, so the extra money, the few extra dollars would be, allow us to purchase the curriculum and be able to renew it in the service over a few years. And at that point, our goal, our instructors' goals are to have worked with the industry partners enough to where they're helping us sustain that cost of the curriculum.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Could you summarize the cost for your item, the best, the one you would like to get? Can you summarize the cost, how much money you have now, how much additional money you're?
So we have $41,000 that we have right now in Anderson County Schools, and I need $60,000, or we need 60.
You dedicated to this?
I have $41,000 right now dedicated to it.
So you need 60,000 more?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So is
Yep.
that, the 41,000, is that something that was just already in the budget from July being passed, or did you go in front of school board? School board said, here's money, we support it, we bless it.
Well, I know that I don't know how to.
That was in our equipment code and CTE equipment code.
Okay.
So that pretty much drains, that's.
But y'all, have you gone to the school board and asked for additional funding for this?
We've not.
Okay.
And I just want to say too, that this is over, $50,000 is over, this would have to be bid out, we just can't pick a vendor and say we want to buy from them at this price. Unless it's a sole source, which we have to advertise for 10 days to see if some other vendor, has the same product. So I don't think that we can just buy from Caterpillar. And even the guy, when I watched the video, he said it's the best product. So that makes me think there's other products out there from other vendors. I don't know if I'm right.
Well,
But it would have to be a bid regardless.
there's other companies that make other simulators, but to my knowledge, Sim4Motion is the only company, they're the only licensee of the Caterpillar product, to my knowledge. There are other simulators that don't come with the curriculum and the service, and the certification piece.
We would have to do a sole, if it's a sole source, then we'd have to have that evidence and we'd have to advertise that 10 days.
But with the sole source, if there's a like product out there that just has a different name,
I think it would have to be bid.
I mean, I would want Caterpillar too, but I'm just thinking from a bid perspective.
The only way we don't have to bid a project out is if it's a sole source or a
Professional.
contract.
Yeah.
Commissioner Palmer?
So I love the presentation. Do you mind emailing that to the commissioners in the next few days? That would be awesome. I'd love to have it. It's hard to digest
Yeah.
all of that when you,
Oh, I
you
get it,
know.
yeah.
I'd like to look through it, and I'm not very impetuous, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I get
But the other thing is, I was at that meeting. I'm very excited about these jobs that
Yeah.
are coming, and I want Anderson County students to have all of them,
Yes.
as many as they want.
Absolutely.
From the engineering that we heard about to the trades, all of that. We've also been in some other meetings, and I know you haven't gone to the school board. That might be, I'd like to, for you to do that before commission makes a decision. But the other thing that we've heard from other meetings is UCOR, DOE, places like that are willing to give grants and to help fund things like this. Have you been to any other, or even like, I think Stowers Equipment, I think you mentioned them in your presentation.
So we have a partnership with Stowers with our diesel program. I've
Okay.
not talked to anybody at Stowers about funding this yet. It was our thought to really try to get the piece of the simulator to show that we're serious and the vision, because when you go to, and I get it, you go to a commission, you go to a company, and you're saying, hey, I need 50 or 60,000, that's a big chunk of
Right.
change. But no, we have not done that yet.
So that meeting, you know, it was Mayor Frank and the county executive of Roane County that got us all together to let us know what was coming down the pike, and she may have some comments, or if you can talk about that. But she's, and even Commissioner Wandell has mentioned, and others have mentioned, that these companies, these corporations want to partner with the schools and to participate. And since this is going to be to their benefit to get these employees, I would like to you know, approach that and ask them before commission commits to funding as well.
Okay.
Just some thoughts, but I love your preparation. I would love to see this where I can digest it a
Well, I
little bit
think
better.
I emailed it to, I thought all of you guys had
Oh,
it.
well, I've got this part, but not the presentation
presentation?
with the stats.
All we got was, in fact, I made these same copies, that's all that came.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, yeah, the mayor
Sorry
would
about
like
that,
to
but
get that
yes,
also.
it was on the email that I sent out. It's through the school, it's through Google Drive. I don't know if you don't have Google Drive, it may not come up.
Yeah, I didn't even
Um,
see it, but,
I actually remember it said you could not, you did not permission. Yeah, we couldn't view it.
It's not part of Anderson County Schools. We'll figure that out.
but anyways, thank you for the presentation and good information.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited about the future for Anderson County.
Yep,
Mr.
thank you.
Chairman?
Oh.
And Saber wanted
Oh, I'm
something.
sorry, go ahead, Saber. No, I was just gonna say, I'd like for this to come back on the agenda next month, if it's okay. Because what I'd like to see, this is amazing, first of all. Like,
Absolutely.
this would be so cool, as long as commission got to play with it. That's the only way I'd be. for it.
Welcome anytime.
Me
But-
first.
Yeah, but I would like for this to be on next month's agenda. And if that would give you time to go to the school board, because again, you know, with Kelly saying it would deplete that one code, I'd hate for that to happen. And two, see if there's an appetite to kind of meet us halfway, you know what I mean? To maybe enrich this to where if, you know, so it's 120, so if they could kick in a little more and to get you what you need, it's something that I would definitely be willing to support. I support it. I think it's great. I think it's, you know, spot on. And two, I just want to thank you for not taking that meeting as just, you know, a place for us to write on notepads.
Yeah,
That you took
absolutely.
it serious, and because you're right. I mean, it's coming. Everything's coming. But if, Robbie, if you could maybe make a note, if you could come back, if it's possible, next month.
Absolutely.
See if school board could help. I mean, I'm 100% behind this, for sure. I think this is wonderful.
And I am too. And I would just like, maybe the mayor could give us some directions on UCOR, DOE, who to contact, who to ask, because they've been very willing and very vocal about wanting to partner or to, you know, to help with some of these projects.
Great.
I was just gonna repeat exactly what Commissioner Palmer and Commissioner May said. I would like to see the school board fund a little more of this, but also partner with other facilities because they are willing to help the schools. Again, like Commissioner Palmer said, they're wanting these students and wanting them to come and work. So I think, and they're always good about donating to our schools. They always have been in their programs and stuff. So I would like to see that go back to school board and then fund a little more toward this and then maybe find some partnerships with this.
Any further questions? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
Yes, sir.
Okay, next up I have on the agenda is the property assessor restricted funds. And just to give you a little background on this, the property assessor has had restricted funds. There's 2 codes in their department, and I kind of wrote them on this for you, on the sheet I handed you all out, that if they don't spend those funds, we've always rolled them into the restricted funds. Well, 2 years ago, 22, 23, after we do that in June, after we close in August, they spent quite a bit of money that year, so I kind of zeroed it all out, which was a mistake. It should have all been zeroed out. So I fixed it this year and added $66,000 back into the code, but audit doesn't recognize it because we have no agreement. County Commission doesn't have a resolution, doesn't have any, we can't find anything signed, which I know you're not shocked that something happened so old that we can't find anything. So I thought, if we're going to do this, then I would like Commission to approve it. And so we have that going forward. And I would like to have Mr. Brooks work on a resolution that we bring back to County Commission and for approval. So, and I think Commissioners, Property Assessor Allen would like to speak about this too. I'm sorry, Johnny, you used to be a commissioner.
Hello, Johnny.
Hello. Appreciate y'all letting me be here, and nice being here in front of you all. I'm a little new to this because it's been quite a while. Jay used to come and do these transfers for me all the time. And the codes that as Robbie's telling me, he is correct that the reserve codes rolled over for, it did it 20 years under Vernon Loan. It's did it for the last 11 years under me, and then it got zeroed out. I was thankful that we got some of it back, and I caught it early on, but I'm still short $37,800, $891 from what was in what was in there that should have rolled, in my opinion. If they were going to take it, I thought that, the auditors should have said, hey, if you don't sign something or get an agreement, you can't roll it. That would have been a lot more pleasing to me, I guess, but,
Audit doesn't recognize this. And the year he's talking about, there was $102,117 left in 21, 22. In 22, 23, that office, because of, I think Oak Ridge had a lot to do with it, an appeal there, we spent $125,900 that year. So I wiped it out. Probably shouldn't have wiped it completely out, but I don't agree that there's $100,000. And I told Johnny I wasn't going to agree with that because I don't.
yeah, I'm fine with that. Robbie does an excellent job, but it's just, at one point, when I got elected, there was like 65,000 in there from assessor loan. I was real saving with it. None of it ever got spent. It didn't went into anything else but legal fees, expert witnesses, things to help with, and so Jay would come up and get the commission to approve whatever we need to fight, whatever appeal we're under. The last big one was the manufacturing sciences uranium appeal in Oak Ridge, and it took over roughly $80,000. And at that point, I had $184,000 in the account. So it's nice to have that there to use it, but the commission's always approved any expenditures coming in. It's never went to anything else, and it's always been that way. I'll yield to whatever you think. I guess I'm here for guidance, and it's a little bit of funding coming up for my reappraisal I want to talk about, but also probably a little mercy for being in this shape. But I think that the money should have been put back into the account, and if it don't, I'm gonna have to come ask for it every month or whatever appeals I've got. And it gets sticky when a judge is asking for you want to carry this on. We need an expert witness, and I don't have the money. I have to come up and wait 3 weeks to come to get the approval. But
the money's in the budget. I will say this: the money is in the budget. We currently budget in those two codes. If we have a restricted fund, he still has to come to budget committee to get it moved into a code.
That's what Jay did always for me. But now this is a reappraisal year in 2020. I'm anticipating extensive appeals, and I'm probably going to need more money than what's in here anyway. But I'd like to have that back to start. And even if I had to wait till the next budget cycle in June, that's when the Board of Equalization will meet. And if I don't have to have it today, or if you don't have it and it can be put in at the next budget cycle, I would be happy with that.
So what's the motion need to be, Rob?
The motion needs to be that that budget committee makes a recommendation to approve these restricted funds for audit committee as we were doing them before, through a resolution signed by the chairman and the mayor. And so we have a proper paperwork. Audit won't recognize it because we have nothing. And I asked the property assessor for their agreement. They don't have it. I can't find it. So that's what I need from audit. That's what they said the next step would be. It's a committed fund because it's not by law. Would be a recommendation from you all, approval from you guys.
So we have a motion to go with Robbie's rec. Commissioner Bochamp makes the motion. Yeah, that.
It's just to approve a restricted fund for the property assessor's office.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Commissioner Palmer.
With the resolution.
Any discussion?
I was going to ask, would that include me receiving the funds back that's back to where it was, or that?
Right now, it has a balance of $66,627. I think that's generous, in my opinion. I'm sorry. But, we're talking $34,000. I don't care if y'all give that to him or not. If you want it to be that way, it'll come from unassigned fund balance.
What is is there an urgency behind this?
Not right now, but in May of this year, maybe April, the assessment change notices will go out, and there's going to be a drastic change in property values, and I'm anticipating.
How fast does $66,000 get eat up?
I spent $80,000 on one appeal last year for manufacturing science.
Well, $125,000 got spent in 1 year. So
that you completed?
Huh?
The one that you wrote? all of
Yeah,
it?
no, I mean, I did the budget amendments to move the money for them.
That was probably two or
It
three
wasn't
other
Jay, it
appeals
was me.
going on.
But that got moved that year. That's why I said there wasn't any money left, because the budget, the amount was $102,000 that was only in the code that was available. We spent 125. I didn't have the same balance he did. So it doesn't matter. I would like for there to be a restricted funds. I don't think there has to be, because I think if we have an appeal and they have to fight it in court, I don't think you guys are gonna turn that down through unassigned fund balance,
But does he already have a code to fight the,
Yes.
an expenditure code?
Yes.
Even if we don't,
We have budgeted $15,540 in 331 and 61,600 in 305. Those are the two codes that make what they don't spend in that rolls into the restricted fund.
and those balances haven't been touched at this point?
Yeah, one of them we spend, it's audit. One of them is legal services and one of them's, he's probably not spending, you're not spending any legal services
Yes,
this
I
year.
mean,
Yeah, but the other one will be touched some, yes. But I would
So-
like for them to have a restricted fund. It makes Johnny feel more comfortable. I'm fine with that. But I need that approval through this body and
So,
commission.
to answer his question, what code is this going in?
It goes in a restricted fund, 34615 1000. Hey, and we already
You
have it
good
in
with
there. Audit didn't recognize it. I still do.
Everybody know what we're doing? Any more discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carried.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and then I had one other that was, I guess, the bigger one. Well, they're both big, but for the reappraisal, I've got Jerry Clear listed in my 5-year reappraisal plan, and the commission approved in 2014 the $50,000, 51 maybe, for help for an employee to come in, or part-time employees. The state used to furnish, they'd send out 12 to 15 employees to help us key, and I went through this back in 14 when it was voted on, to help us through the reappraisal year. Then they took the employees back and started giving grant money. Then they pulled the grant money back, and that's why I had to come in 14 to ask for, because we needed help to work through the reappraisal to get it finished and completely timed. There's counties next to us that just hired 2 full-time and 2 part-times. I'm using 1 person, but I've got it where the commission voted on it, and in my opinion, it was for each reappraisal. We used it in 15 reappraisal, 2020 reappraisal, now in the 2025 reappraisal. I made the mistake, I believe is where it's happened. I don't know if I was looking at this $100,000 shortage or what, and I don't know I don't think Jay would have been involved in that. It's just, it didn't get put into my budget. I thought it was there, and I talked to Robbie, about having enough money to, bring on the part-time person, Jerry Clear, to finish with the reappraisal. And he said, yeah, I did, but I've been notified that I just at this point don't have enough
We
money
did
to.
at that point. That was last year when we talked about that.
Right, it was quite a while ago, but Jerry's been with us a while, and he's about to finish up, but
And the problem too is he didn't work part-time, he worked full-time, so.
he's been working 3 and 4 days a week.
Go ahead.
So we're on the payroll, working 3 or 4 times a week. So what's the shortfall?
Shortfall's right, but Robbie said I can't sustain till the end of the year.
Well, we won't have enough, we'll be
Yeah,
$7,000
you'd be out.
short in that code.
Right.
We are
How much?
now. Several thousand, to $25,000.
Will you bring it, like, when it gets close?
Yeah.
He's probably got a week or 2 left here right now, and then he'll come back a little bit in January. He's practically finished now. And what he used the first year in 2015 reappraisal, he probably used 28,000 of the 50. This next, in 2020, I think he was 32 or 34,000. This is a little bit more, because this is a little more extensive reappraisal. We got a lot of big values and a lot of changes with property values and the sales that we're enduring.
We have a solution to fix it that
Okay.
I was gonna bring back to you guys next month.
Next month?
Yes. They.
I just want to bring you to your attention. That's-
Okay.
Any more discussion on that? All right.
and
Anything else?
Yeah, wanted to talk a little bit, and it's somewhat premature, but I guess it depends on how you look at it. It's the State Board of Equalization has asked, and y'all probably heard it, that they're wanting me to go to
2, 3, or 4-year reappraisal off of the 5-year that we're on now. With that, I like to work with Roane County because we went from a 6 to a 5, and I think they went from a 4 to a 5 or vice versa 20-plus years ago. So a city of Oak Ridge would be, it would be appraised and revalued at the same time. I'm talked actually to the assessor in Roane County today about that, and I'm looking at a 3-year and I'm looking at a 4 and looking at the cost that's going to be associated with that number of employees, because we're doing the same amount of work in a less amount of time, but that's what the state board's suggested. I think the 4-year would be a lot less cost than of course, the quick you have to do it, the more it's going to be. We do need a new mapping system. We've been looking at one called Eagle View. Roan's got it, but with that, the commission there voted to let the property assessor manage it the way our mapping system is today, but they give to the EMS, the police, the fire, everybody gets the benefit off of it, utility companies, and that's kind of what we do now. We give shape files out every year to Oak Ridge Utility District, CUB, Anderson County Water Authority, anybody else that requests it.
Johnny, this may be comparing apples and oranges, but would that same issue exist with Campbell County as far as Rocky Top and Morgan as far as Oliver Springs and all that?
No, because I think I believe there's 13 properties in Rocky Top that's in Campbell County, and it's not enough it would make that much difference. But yeah, Oak Ridge there's a big portion on the west end that's your own. But that's just something that's coming down. I'll have to make the decision probably the first year, because there'll be a 2029 or 2030 or 2028, whatever years I decide that I think they work best for the county, and we could even have a seminar on it or a meet and have discussions about it and talk about the pros and the cons of going to a 2, 3, or 4. I believe ultimately they're wanting to do an annual reappraisal. It's the way it does in Florida. If it sells whatever you've got on it, whatever it sells for the next time, that's what it goes on as on the tax roll. So there won't be like a conventional reappraisal. That's be the most accurate, and that's what all the experts say. That's whatever it sold for that day, it goes on the books at that. Of course, I don't know a whole lot about that, but I know there's things you have to check, like sales that come in cash and it's not market value. So you'd have to you have to watch that, but it's capturing what you're doing is capturing the value quickly, up or down. You won't have these big spans like we've got now with 75, 80, 85% increases. Campbell, I think they just had an 85% increase, 87. I'm not going to say what we are, but it's because the numbers aren't finalized yet. You can get in trouble real fast for that, but it's substantial, and that's why I'm worried about the appeals and the audit, appeals side of it all.
Any questions for property assessor?
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Thank you.
All right.
Now we're at new business?
Yes.
All right. Now we're there.
I want to go with these purchasing contracts. There's 3 of them. The MOU for the Anderson County Sheriff's Office and Town of Oliver Springs to provide dispatch. We would be taking over Oliver Springs dispatch services for, I think they're going to pay us $125,000. That does come with 2 new employees. The Morristown automatic sprinkler, fire protection for the new CTE building, $129,698. It was established from a competitive bid. We usually don't have to have these approved in budget and commission, but this doesn't have a completion date on the contract, and that's because we don't know when this building's going to be completed. It's been like everything, it gets delayed a lot. So, and the CBIZ Consulting Services contract with the Board of Trustees that we just approved Tuesday, it expires December 31st, so it is kind of time sensitive that we have approval for that. And I think Steve Owens is here to discuss the dispatch, if you have any questions.
I also brought the law director.
Give me a hand, does that?
The law director had been looking at our MOU, because I'm not a great writer. And we made a couple of changes to what may have been sent to you, so this is the one that the law director finished with. Yeah. So they're comparables.
Give me one of those.
I'd be happy to give you one, Robbie.
And there.
So you say you got this MOU yesterday?
Well, the law director gave his approval to yesterday.
Okay, thank you.
I actually wrote it some while ago, but we're just now getting close to doing it.
Okay.
So the three changes from the original that you all may have already been given is that, under section 4 policy, letter A, we took out the effective date to be not a specific date, but the date the actual MOU is signed, and the year starts from there. The other changes were that we also added wording in there to account for any increases in raises.
Where is this?
So, section 4, where it says policy, letter A changed from what you all had before. And then, letter C, under the same, changed to include, subject change, the wording was subject to change due to salary increases and what they would pay. And then, originally I had it as an indefinite MOU, and I'm told by the law director that they have to be renewed annually, so, the wording was taken out to now say annually have to be revisited. So that's the changes from what you had before. Mayor, are you good with this?
Yeah, and Steve and I talked before about the changes, and I had asked him about the funding and everything, so he walked me through that, so yeah.
I make a motion to approve, all of those though, as a group.
About A, B, and C.
Yes, sir.
Motion by Commissioner Mays to approve contracts A, B, and C. Do we have a second? Second by Commissioner Allen. Any discussion?
I have one quick.
Commissioner Palmer.
The sprinkler contract, will that, what does that come out of? The school budget?
The school
Okay.
budget, yes. Board of Education.
Okay.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
Okay, and on page 50, it's a budget amendment for restricted abatement council opioid funds, 2,500, going into code 585000332. That revenue code is what we have for the abatement council, so we use that as the cost center. For legal notices is for advertising in the local papers for the opioid. This came out of that committee as well. Meeting on Tuesday.
Commissioner Allen moves to approve item number,
It's
What are we
budget
calling that,
amendment
Rob?
number 19, appropriation,
19?
yes.
second by Commissioner Smallridge. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. Motion carried.
And I think the last thing added under new business was the election office payroll issues. I did send.
Also added the,
Oh, yeah, the ARPA thing too. Sorry, let's take it first. So with the available funding of the ARPA funds that expires, that we need to spend by December 31st, just kind of putting, I like to bring back something for you guys to have, just because, you know, we're going to lose these funds. And so, and with the controversy of the longevity pay on the agenda, that what if we did another retention payment or ARP payment for the employees that, and I've given 3 options here. There's 429 full-time, 38 permanent part-time employees. If you did a $500 payment, it's $264,233. That includes all benefits, security, Social Security, Medicare, and retirement. Of course, the part-time wouldn't have retirement. That's why there's a difference there. $750 is a $396,349 payment, and $1,000 would cost us $528,466. So we're kind of between. We have more money than the $264 and less than the $396, but we do have interest that would take care of that. So it's just something we can do to spend that money. We could have it, if it's approved by commission and approved by this, we could have it out the next. One thing I do want to do is write a check instead of an ACH payment because I'm supposed to do employment audits each year, really, but probably haven't done one in 4 years. Every 2 to 3 years, where we have employees pick up individual checks. It's hard to do with ACH deposits now because people have things going to pay bills, and it messes them up if we do something like that. But whenever we have something like these extra payments come through, I like to write a check because that means I can have everybody come in the office, sign for it, and then we have proof. Not that I think we have any illegal employees or,
Yeah.
fake employees, but that's the way to have a check. And audit
Yeah.
recommends that. So
Not
this gives
kind of
us an
burn us
opportunity to
all.
do that with this.
I like it.
But it's a possibility to get something out by Christmas, and as long as they come in and pick it up. And, I'm sure we'll get the word out if there's money in their office that they need to pick up. But that would be, it's just an ideal.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
No, you
Bochamp.
beat me.
I would like to make a motion to spend the ARP funds to give each county employee, full-time and part-time, $750, and for Robbie to be able to pay that out in paper checks.
I'll second it.
Motion by Commissioner Bochamp, seconded by Commissioner Palmer. Any discussion?
Seemed like $500 would be a real good round figure.
Well, the reason 500, we would have to turn over funds for ARP funds. You weren't here when I explained this earlier, but our CDBG water grant that we had $450,000 committed to, we didn't receive any bids on that. So that money went back in the pot. So now we have to spend that or we're going to lose it by December 31st. So
What would be the case with $1,000?
it would just reach into the
You would spend more of the.
interest. We still, like we said, we have 637,415 available of interest and ARP funds. And that the interest is probably about 10 to 15,000 a month, every month, right now.
So that wouldn't hurt us any at all, then. It would just use up more of the ARP funds.
It would, no.
Commissioner Mace.
I have an amendment to that motion. Is I'd like to separate the two, that employees who've been here 6 months or less and permanent part-time employees receive $500, and then the remaining receive $1,000.
So what's the total for that?
No, I can't figure that right.
Utilizing
Here, I got a calculator.
cheaper than 528.
Yes.
For sure.
Let me see if I can do that.
But utilizing the ARP funds, and then what's left, a little bit of
Here, I think I can do this.
the interest.
I will have that for you by commission date, for sure.
So do we have a second on the amendment?
True.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Smallridge on the amendment. Any discussion on the amendment?
Well, Commissioner Bochamp had a good question there. How many employees? We don't know how many employees.
Yes, we do. So I gave you a new,
Under
this
6
sheet, under
okay.
the 6 months,
That we-
393 qualified. So we lost, 36
Okay.
employees we had 36 new hires from July 1st that would affect. They would get a $500 check. And
How many?
38 permanent part-time, so.
Okay.
But yes, so that would have some effect on the total. And I can't tell you right, I'd have to, I need to
My
plug that in an
brain's-
Excel spreadsheet.
My brain is saturated.
Any further discussion?
Can you just repeat that for me?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. So the motion, amendment to the motion is for full-time employees that have been here for 6 months or less, and our permanent part-time employees receive $500 in the retention payment, and employees over that are full-time would receive $1,000.
Oh.
So it'd be less than the 528,000. is what
It
you're
would.
It would
saying. And we have
definitely be less.
ARP with interest to cover that.
We do.
Commissioner Yeager, you qualify for the,
What date do you want that calendar to start? Because if it starts now, it's different than a commission day or
checks going out, I got that.
The date was July 1st, which was the beginning of the fiscal year. That's the question you're
Yeah.
asking, for new hires.
Based on this, it was July 1.
And that's about a 6-month, that's still like a probationary employee.
Oh, that's true.
You know, they're kind of 6 months, they're not even quite 6 months into, some could be if it was July 1st, the exact day, they're,
The jail's not even put their name on their uniform yet.
You laugh, but that's true.
they've already quit.
That is true.
So these employees less than 6 months, they would just be in a probationary period, more or less, so that would be good for them to.
We call all employees 6 months or less. You have, it's a probation period.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
38 employees, that's under 6 months.
Any further discussion?
Hang on a minute, I'm trying to
Yeah.
add this up. Give me a second.
We're trying to do the quick
They did
math
that
over here.
there. They got math.
I came up with 430,000, but I'm an engineer, but not a mathematician.
So, yeah, well,
Oh, God.
I mean, I guess I could have tried to work it up. I'm just over here smiling, you know.
Okay, so you.
448.
448.
That's what I got.
But we have ARP funds and interest to cover that.
we do.
Y'all good?
Yep, I'm good.
Still adding?
No, we're good, we're
Okay.
good, we're
I was
good.
just calculating it in my head.
I'll be abstaining from this, depending on what day of the week it is. I can vote on it if I give a speech, or I can't. So just to be on the safe side, I'm just going to go ahead and abstain. However, I will be abstaining for cause, which drops the number down to 4 instead of 5 needed to pass.
Did we get a second on that, by the way?
Yeah, Dr.
Yes.
Okay,
Small is.
thank you.
Yeah. So this is the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Voting now on the motion as amended. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. Motion carries.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, folks. I'm sure the employees will greatly appreciate that.
And it doesn't cover elected officials, make sure they know that.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No elected officials.
Yeah. No elected officials.
Although I'm not elected.
That's what I thought. Wait, the election.
We still got the election commission.
Oh my God, I forgot.
Where you going, Robbie?
Sit down.
My question is on the ARRP,
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead, Mary.
or I mean ARP. Seniors on the mind. If that number is not, it's 450 that was set aside for the CDBG overage.
Mm-hmm.
If that number does not come to 450, what is the plan for the last, I mean, it sounds like it would be very limited.
The
Because
pl-
didn't you?
Oh, you mean for the revenue left, for the interest left over?
No, I thought, so what's the number that you're talking about using? I thought Commissioner Baker said 4.
If it's 450, we would be dipping into like $100,000 of interest.
Okay, got it.
And the big question, we're not turning any money.
Not,
back over.
none. Interest
So
does,
we've
does
got it all
not,
spent now.
we do.
Good deal, thank you for clarifying.
Okay, really quick, just on the election office, I notified the chairman of budget, chairman of commission, the election registrar, and the chairman of the election commission. We have 2 codes currently in the red in payroll, and I've listed them on this sheet. Sorry, Mr. White, I don't have another sheet to share with you, but and 5 more codes projected to be in the red at the end of the year. We have sent Mr. Stevens several emails letting him know his codes, where they're at, payroll especially, because this is a concern every year. He did pull $7,000 out of 106 and moved it to part-time, which now has $500 left. Now 106 is projected to be in the red at the end of the year because of that move. But anyway, I don't get any, I just need help with that department and cooperation, and because payroll in the red is an audit finding for me, not him. It is him too, but it's me. And we've done, I mean, and when an employee works, just like the election workers, we had that election, he turned in his poll workers, it's $7,700 in the red right now. I have to pay those employees, they've worked this election. I mean, I can't hold a paycheck, because that's a lot, you know, that's, could be another lawsuit for, but, in Fair Labor Standards Act. But anyway, I just need I think some motions from commission, Budget Committee and commission approval to see if we can get any kind of cooperation. He doesn't communicate with me. He asked for some budget increases in budget season. I sent him an email and told him the steps was he needed to come to Budget Committee like anybody that asked for increases to the budget hearings. Didn't respond. So I just took his budget down to what it was, because that's what we asked for, no increased budget. Anyway,